Hello, I'm Sheridan Foster, founder of Elemental Green, your ultimate resource for green home building and renovation. And I'm here today with a very special guest, Marla Esser Cloos, author of Living Green Effortlessly. Marla is the founder of the Green Home Coach. She's also co-host of Green Gab podcast and is a National Association of Home Builders Master Certified Green Professional, as well as a lead AP. So she certainly will have a lot to share with us today. And Marla's new book is really a great introduction to what makes a home green. It's written in a very approachable way that's easy for homeowners or renters to understand the concepts and pull out their action items. So I'm sure that you'll be able to come away with some new and useful information today. Welcome, Marla.
Oh, thank you. Can I just grab what you said and use that for a review? That was awesome.
Certainly, yes. It was a very great, easy read and good for the novice. And that's what we also like to have on Elemental Green, to make sure that people don't get lost in the jargon. And it's
exactly. Yeah. I like to think of it as mainstream green.
So, mainstream green, yes.
Something for everybody, because there's so many things people can do, and you don't really have to be all in. You can just do a few things and get started.
Yeah, green for all.
There you go.
So to kick things off, I'm really curious about what prompted you to write this book. It certainly would have been quite the effort to pull all this information together, because it covers a wide range of topics, all related to what makes a house green.
Well, and actually it was a labor of love over several years. It's actually a compilation of my blogs that I wrote back several years ago. And thank you very much to Brent, who worked with me years ago and got me started blogging. And he actually started blogging for me, and then I took it over. So grateful that he was there to get me in that habit. Now I have hundreds of blog posts and over 50 podcasts that are out there. So we've got a gob of content right now, but it took time to build that up, and it took time to build that knowledge up. And with the book, we really just a few years ago, I had some young ladies that were working with me, and one of them helped me compile the blogs into one document, one manuscript. Mm-hmm. And just kind of on a wild hair, I approached Builder Books, which is an arm of the National Association of Home Builders. They have their own publishing arm. And I talked to somebody there, and I said, would you be interested in maybe this book? And she said, shoot me over that manuscript. I said, it's not a manuscript. It's super, super rough. Are you sure? She goes, yeah, I like what you're talking about, so send it on over. And they accepted my proposal. And then they provided an editor to work with me, which was amazing. Sherry was absolutely fabulous, because she helped to knit together the different blog posts and you kind of to weave them into a story, into chapters, and help me to fill in some spots. And actually, she even had to write a couple of spots to fill in the blanks. But that was huge. And I have a number of friends that have self-published books, and having a publisher to work with you is an amazing gift. So I'm just incredibly grateful for that. They also are advertising and promoting the book through the National Association of Home Builders. So a lot of home builders are getting an opportunity to hear about it, and remodelers from their side. And then we're also doing a lot with the consumer side. So it's really giving us kind of both sides of the equation. And I think so many people realize that this whole topic of green is here to stay, and that they kind of need to catch up no matter what. And if you're going to dip your big toe in, or you're going to dive all in, it doesn't really matter. You need to get a little bit more knowledge. It's really what the book was intended to do. So hopefully we'll write another one day.
That sounds great. You definitely, I know you do a lot of public speaking, and you speak to everything ranging from the novice to professional builders. What do you think is the most common misconception that you run into about sustainable building?
Oh, that's easy. It's expensive. And that, I believe, is a problem of our media, because most of the homes that we show that are green and gorgeous are way up there. They're the million-dollar babies that we want to see in all the big top magazines or on social media. And just like everything else in social media and the press, we always show off the best side. But I have worked on homes for Habitat for Humanity and for low-income housing tax credit projects that were super affordable and still certified green. So it really, truly is scalable, and it can go at any price point. But that myth that it has to be expensive has really been propagated.
Yeah, that's a great insight, and thank you, because I also run into that one as well. Everybody says, if I'm going to do it, I would like to, but I can't afford it, without even actually looking under the covers and seeing what there might be there.
Well, and that's what the book's really all about. And so, like I was talking, so there's a section in the book on window coverings, for instance, as I'm sitting here messing with the light in my home for us to record this, right? So I have blinds on my home. Well, in my old home, I had the dual cell blinds. So they were great because they gave me this filtered light, and they actually were very insulating because I didn't have great windows. And that was a far better investment for me than replacing my windows, which would have cost me 5 to 10 times more than buying these really good-looking blinds. Well, so one of the conversations I can have with the people in the home builders associations or in the local community that sell window coverings and blinds is, hey, when you're talking to your clients, your blinds and window coverings aren't just looking great. They can help them perform well and help them to take a greener and more sustainable action in their home by being more energy efficient, by helping to mitigate light and to control heat, because our windows are this beautiful world out into the outdoors, but they let in heat and cold. And they are our biggest source. We're going to punch a hole in those well-insulated walls or not so well-insulated walls, and voila. So window coverings, something most of us ladies like, that's kind of our decorating thing, right? And we don't think about, oh, wait, that can perform well as look good. So that's really kind of what the gist of the book is a lot of those kind of conversations, which you've read. But that's the kind of thinking that I don't think we have gotten to yet. And that's where we can change our mindsets just a little bit, that go beyond, okay, that lamp is gorgeous, but does it also light up my home well? So that really kind of gives us that other side. Does it perform well? Is it less maintenance? Does it last a long time? Yeah, there's so many elements to green that we kind of forget. Everybody thinks green has to be renewable, or it has to be recyclable, or it has to be low toxic. But what about things that don't take as much effort to take care of, or things that last longer with less work? Those are all great principles too, and those are part of green building.
So that's a great segue into something that I wanted to chat with you about, which was for somebody who is not building from scratch, who's wanting to renovate an existing home. What are some things that they can take a look at? You've already mentioned the blinds are a good place to start for not all that much money, and yet you can get great bang for the buck. Are there other areas that you recommend that people take a look at?
Definitely, because one of the things I love to think about is I call incremental green. So greening as you go, and every time you make a decision in your house, can you make a little bit better decision? That's a little more energy or water efficient, or a little bit more resource efficient, a little bit less toxic. But one of the things I really caution people about, if you're doing a whole big renovation, so if you're really going to dig in there, you're moving walls, you're going to put in new windows, things of that nature, take the time and a little bit of extra money and have an energy audit done up front, because they're going to help you identify areas in your home that you can really dig in when you're tearing things up. And then you can put them back together in a way that's really going to be more effective for you and the people living in the home with you, and the longevity and the value of the home. This is the part we forget. When we upgrade our homes, they sell better and they sell faster. So it's not just an investment for us, it's an investment for the future too. But if you're doing a big, what I call a renovation versus just a remodel. So a remodel to me is more decorating, more surface. And so let me kind of take those in two different, is that okay?
Yep.
So if you're doing a full-scale renovation where you're going to tear down walls, add a room on, go upstairs, finish a basement, bigger things that are think kind of if they require a building permit or if they should require a building permit. That's the kind of work. Definitely have an energy audit done, especially if you're going to be messing with ductwork or heating and cooling systems or plumbing, electrical, any of that. Those are all big opportunities to come in and to look at upscaling, upgrading, I'll get my words here in a moment, heating and cooling, plumbing, etc. So with that being said, anytime you're into an exterior wall, make sure it's caulked and sealed and insulated, even if it's just one wall, because eventually you'll get them all done, right? But that caulking and sealing is huge, because what we don't think about a lot of times is that so much air passes through our older homes, through the walls, and it brings in all the dirt and all the yuck, and then we're cleaning, and it also is drafty, and it's impacting your energy bills as well as your health, because you're bringing in all that stuff you got to breathe. So that's just something you can do as you go. If you pull up the carpet or the flooring, caulk along the baseboards, or better yet, if you pull the baseboards up, caulk underneath before you put the floor back down. So there's some really simple kinds of just no-nonsense things that you can do that a lot of us don't think about. And our tradespeople aren't always well-schooled in doing that kind of work. So you may have to ask your flooring people, hey, would you please caulk before you put the new floor down? But that'll pay off over long term, because you're going to incrementally make it better. And then as you're putting things back, think of the best you can. So if you're remodeling your bathroom, so I remodeled my bathrooms a couple of years ago, so I'll use me as an example. I put in better water protection in my walls, my shower walls, which was why I was doing the remodel in the first place, because I had moisture in my walls, and my walls were squishy. So we did extra moisture protection. After we did upgrade, we did the insulation back in there, then the moisture protection. Then I used a tile product that had recycled content. All of my plumbing fixtures, my toilets and my faucets and my shower head were all WaterSense certified. So WaterSense, for people that haven't heard of it, is basically like Energy Star, which most of us have heard of, but it's for water. So it says that it's certified by a third party to be a low water usage faucet or toilet. So it's just a great way. I love looking for green labels, because that's a shortcut. I don't have to go and do all the research. I can say, hey, it's got that label. I know that some other independent, trusted third party has already verified it. So WaterSense is one of those. I also put back in lighting fixtures that used energy efficient lighting, either CFLs or LEDs. We used a low VOC paint. Okay, another buzzword. VOCs are nasties. If you're smelling them, it's likely not good for you. So that kind of clean paint smell that we've all gotten used to says, oh, there's toxics. So the volatile organic compounds is the technical name for what you're smelling. And paints are available very easily at all the big box stores, as well as at any paint specialty store, with low or no VOCs. And my family has chemical sensitivities and allergies and asthma. So I am extremely cautious about bringing in products into my home that will set off any of the members of my family. And so that was something I was looking for years ago, but that's something else I did in my remodel. In addition, you could do, if you're doing the flooring, you can again use tile or some other product that could have recycled product in it, or it could carry a certification called Floor Score that says, hey, there's no nasty emitting like the paint in your floors. So for a sheet product on your floor, like a vinyl, you can oftentimes find them that are Floor Score certified. So lots of different options, and every price point you can imagine comes in all of these different flavors that are all these different green certifications: WaterSense, Energy Star, Floor Score. I'm working on a low-income housing tax credit project right now. That's a senior housing apartment project out in a rural area in Missouri, and we're finding product to use that fits our budget requirements, that still fits what we need to be green certified. So it's totally doable. You may have to do a little more homework, because a lot of times we don't know what we don't know. That's the part. That's where we try to help out, with things like the book and with resources. We have an online resource where people can go that has an entire green resource guide, just chock full of resources on the internet that people can go for different things that you need.
So what would you recommend for somebody who is interested in building a house from scratch, who has a blank slate? Can you walk us a bit through the process of what they should look for and how they should expect to go about that?
That's a big one. So like any other time you're going to build a new home, the first thing you need to do is understand what you want out of that home. What are your values? What's most important to you? What's your priorities? So if green and sustainability is one of those priorities, you can dive into that even deeper. So is your top priority going to be saving money? Is your top priority going to be health and wellness? Is your top priority going to be aging in place? Maybe your home needs to last for several generations while you age there. So those are all going to be different considerations. And the reason I say that is because there's definitely some things you want to do that are baseline. But then you kind of want to pick your major, right? So what areas do we really want to go to town on? So, and some of the green certification programs are a little more like you have to have something in every single area, and some allow you to major in one area more. So it kind of depends on what your builder's comfortable with and what your designer's, but there's something for everybody. That's kind of the whole thing I want to leave. And don't get caught up in which one you're doing. If you need advice on which one to do, call me and I'll help give you some recommendations.
Okay, great.
There's lots of them out there and it's really confusing, and sometimes it's just you really like the builder and that builder works with a particular program. Working with anything is what I look at as most important. But at any rate, enough said on that. So every single building that we build, the first and most important thing we can do is build the best building envelope we can possibly afford. And building envelope is, if you will think about it, it's like your skin to your body. It is what protects us from the elements outside and protects the house from the elements of outside as well. It keeps the inside in and the outside out. And a well-built envelope is going to be what withstands the time. You know, that's what lasts. Because to tear down a wall and to add anything is expensive. It is doable. It's totally doable. Lots of us add onto our homes, but it's expensive. It is always more expensive to redo anything structural than it is to do cosmetics. So painting, new carpet, etc., new fixtures. That stuff, that's what I call remodeling. That's kind of the cosmetics. The first and foremost is build the very best building envelope you can and decide what you want that to be. So for instance, if you have a high-pitched roof and you think, hey, in the future we might want to expand into that attic, then you may want to make your envelope the pitch of the roof and then down the sides and then your floor, underneath your floor. That way you don't have to re-insulate and redefine your building envelope when you add on into that attic in later years. When I was in St. Louis, we had a lot of basements. So a lot of people would condition the basements. So we'd have two floors, the main floor and then the bottom floor, that would be in conditioned space. So conditioned space is simply any space inside the building envelope that is heated and cooled. But that building envelope is what determines all of the building science of what goes on inside the house to outside the house. Components that includes, that would be your walls, that would be your roof, and your ceiling assembly. Your roof and how far it extends out over the walls is a very important element of that. That roof extension or that overhang is what protects those walls, not just from the sun, but from rain. So unless you're in a very, very dry climate, which usually is hot, so you're going to want it for the sun protection if it's hot. But in a rainier climate, you're going to want that protection of your walls from the water. Water damage is the number one thing that kills our building structures I think in the world, but definitely in the United States. And not just hurricanes and floods, which we've had plenty of too, but just moisture. You know, getting moisture inside your walls, or maybe you had vinyl paper, wallpaper in a bathroom and water got behind there and it got moldy and gross. So very common occurrences of mold and mildew can be just as harmful to a structure as flooding or as major rains. So that building envelope is your defense, and you want it to be built so that it is well sealed and does not let air in and out. You want to mechanically bring air in and out or open your windows. because you want to control how the air comes in and out, not through all the nooks and crannies. It includes your windows, includes your roof, it includes your floor or your basement, depending on what kind of a home you have. And I've been in homes where the basement floor and the walls are part of the building envelope, and I've been in other buildings where it's the floor of the house and the basement is left as unconditioned space or outside space. So it can be done either way. What determines where that envelope is where it is insulated and sealed. But that building envelope is the number one thing I would say, because all your fixtures, all your interiors, your systems, your appliances, all that stuff can be replaced. Your building structure is expensive and costly and challenging to replace. So building that well first is definitely my first recommendation. From there, I say if you build a really good building envelope, you're not going to need as much in the way of heating and cooling. You can go with a much smaller heating and cooling system. But this is where it becomes really important to work with somebody that knows what they're doing, because a lot of people don't know that, and they will just kind of, hey, this is how much heating and cooling you need based on average square foot and average consumption patterns and behavior patterns. And in a well-built home, those are way, way, way too much heating and cooling for what that house needs. So then we're paying for more than we need. It oftentimes doesn't perform as well because it's overbuilt, and it may overcycle or undercycle. And there is a ton of building or heating and cooling options now that weren't available to us. So things in different climates work better or not so good. So really understanding the climate that you're working in and having a builder that really, really appreciates that and works well with it and is open to new ideas can be super important if you're really wanting to push the envelope a little bit, pun intended. But those are your two big ticket items, is your building envelope and then your heating and cooling systems. And then from there, a lot of it's your bling, your luxury items. So pick carefully, right? You know, you may want to spend more money on things that are going to last a long time and maybe not so much on things that are more cosmetic. But understanding where you want to put your money in your home is critical up front, because you can't have your cake and eat it too if you have a budget, which most of us do.
Yes, and certainly durable items are inherently more green, since they are reducing the amount of items that end up being torn out and stuck in the landfill in a few years. So that's great advice, and especially on the things that you think you're going to have lasting for a long time, be sure you're picking a good durable option, something that will be high quality and you're going to love for a long time.
Kind of like, you know, when you're building, when a woman's building a wardrobe, they tell you to invest in the classics. Well, do the same for your home. Yeah. Same philosophy.
Your home wardrobe. Yes. Great.
Yep.
So the World Green Building Council is recommending that all new buildings be net zero carbon by 2030. And here in California, there's a strategic goal to hit that by 2020, which is right around the corner. What has you most excited about green building today?
Oh, wow. I think the thing that really excites me the most is for people to see the opportunity for them to be part of the climate change solution and part of the bigger world solutions by something they can do in their very own homes. And we've not done a good job of connecting those dots. That you, Sheridan, me, Marla, and all the people we know have the power to do something right in our own homes. And if we can't get to net carbon zero by 2030, at least we're doing something, and we can do something. But sticking our heads in the sand isn't going to solve anything. And I think a lot of us think, oh, government will solve that, or big business will solve that. Well, who votes for big government? And who buys big companies' products? We do. So we've got this really wonderful opportunity to take that power and to do something with it. And oh, by the way, it's going to improve your health and your pocketbook. And so it's this win-win situation. And that's what I love about green building, is that it is truly a win-win when it is done. That was a lot of wins. When it's done wisely and it's done, just throwing green stuff at it isn't going to solve anything. But when you do it with a purpose in mind and an end goal in mind, it can solve so many issues. It's my easy answer.
So that is so great. Thank you, Marla, for joining us today. And I really appreciate the insights that you've shared on sustainable building practices. We went sort of a wide range of things. For the listeners, if you'd like to see more of Marla's articles and links to her podcast, you can find her at thegreenhomecoach.com, actually greenhomecoach.com, or find her book on Amazon or at Barnes & Noble.
Here, I get it. There you go.
So there it is. Yes.
Book.
Thank you. And if you'd like to learn more about sustainable home building, be sure to visit us at elemental.green and follow us on social media, where we are updating you often. And I welcome all of your comments and welcome all of your feedbacks. And thank you very much again, Marla, and to everyone.
And thank you, Sheridan. Thank you for what you and Elemental Green are doing, because you are really helping to get the word out there, and that is so needed right now. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you. We're trying to definitely make the process that you described a little bit easier and less intimidating for the homeowner and builder, and with more and more exciting green products coming on every day, it's hard to keep up, but that's what makes our job exciting. So
it is.
So we love it. So to everyone out there, we hope that all your dreams are green. Thanks very much.